With all this talk of money lately, what exactly does it cost to run a competitive World of Outlaws sprint car team? We're going to dive into the numbers today. Let's go. It's Wednesday, December 7th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is Dirt Tracker Daily. I've got a bunch of good stuff for you today, but before we dive in, I want to spotlight MSP Mounts, who is the sponsor of today's episode. MSP Mounts, owned by sprint car racer Dan McCarron, make action camera mounts that are perfect for whatever you race. That could be on dirt or on asphalt. These heavy-duty mounts can fit any roll bar or tubing from 3/4 of an inch thick up to 2 inches, and because these are built by racers for racers, you know they're tough enough to handle whatever you can put them through. If you want to see what one looks like besides what's on the screen, I've got one right here. Super awesome. Really great, kind of put together manufacturing, and everything is put together really nice. If you're a watcher of Flow Racing, you've actually probably seen video footage captured using these mounts. Flow likes them because they're super fast and easy to take on and off the cars. You don't need any tools. You just use the quick clamp that comes built in. It's a good time to get into the content creation game. And if you're going to do that, you're going to need some of these mounts for all of that important onboard footage. The other thing I was thinking about with these mounts is for driver improvement. If you mount one of these with a GoPro inside your car, you could use it for film study. You could check your racing lines, see how the track evolves, and what your competition is doing around you. So as we get into indoor season, or you're making your 2023 plans, grab a few of these for your racing program. You can order online at mspmounts.com. I've got a discount code for you. If you use code DIRTTRACKER at checkout, you get 10% off your order. That's DIRTRACKR at checkout over at mspmounts.com for 10% off. Also, if you're headed to PRI this week, find Dan. He's actually going to be at PRI, and he's got some of these mounts with him. You can actually see one for yourself. Make sure you tell him that I sent you. Also, really quick, Dirt Tracker sprint car decals are back in stock over at shop.dirttracker.com. $5 includes postage and sales tax if you would like to grab one of those. All right, today's show topic is one I've had on my idea list almost since I started doing the Dirt Tracker podcasts and shows. And with all the talk lately about money and payouts, it seemed like a good time to finally dive in and make it happen. Part of the reason I haven't done it is because I knew it would be fairly research heavy, and I was absolutely correct in that. What I'm about to present is multiple hours of work pulling in numbers from several sources, including a few publicly available pieces of content online and some help from some industry friends along the way as well. So what I'm about to share is a bit of a breakdown on what it costs to run a World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series team for a season. Couple of notes before we start. First, these numbers are based on a team that will run towards the front of races and not what the season could potentially be done on at the cheaper end. This is going to be a top 5 team at the end of the season in the standings, somebody that's going to compete for wins. And second, a few of these numbers are definitely estimates, but they should be fairly close. Obviously, nobody's going to let me look at their actual books, but thanks to those of you out there who took a look at these and provided me some guidance. Third, these numbers are not hyper-specific, meaning I'm not counting every single TI bolt in the bins at the shop. I've made a few generalizations, which we'll get into as we go. Also, if you're someone in the industry and you see a massive hole or screw up somewhere, feel free to let me know, as I know these numbers won't be absolutely perfect, but I think they'll be pretty damn close. So let's get into it. The overall number I started with was from Justin Marks. If you aren't aware, Marks is the current owner of Trackhouse Racing in NASCAR, but he did previously own the Larson Marks sprint car team with driver Shane Stewart. They competed for several seasons with the Outlaws and had some big wins along the way, including a King's Royal. In a 2016 episode of the Dinner with Racers podcast with Sean Heckman and Ryan Eversley, Marks revealed that his sprint car team operated each season on $500,000. That was all expenses, including shop rent and 3 employees. He pointed out that Shane Stewart did not earn a salary. He just got 50% of the earnings. Also, he said that he was able to almost cash flow the team off of prize money alone without any additional sponsorship support. I think that's an interesting takeaway from that conversation. So using that $500,000 number and accounting for inflation, I figured that same team would cost about $620,000 a season right now. And we can break that number down using other resources available around the interwebs, plus, like I said, some extra help. A few examples of the pieces I used for that help included a 2021 Speed Sport article about the cost of racing sprint cars at Bristol. And there's a 2019 sprint car and midget piece about tow money paying the bills that featured some numbers and comments from Mikey Kemper. Kemper was the longtime crew chief for Craig Kinzer. He actually recently just departed that team. The operating expenses for the year that I took into account are shop rental, diesel and truck expenses, crew guy salaries, the tire bill, hotels, plus engine and car maintenance and miscellaneous things. I did not include things like pit passes because Outlaw teams get those for free for their platinum membership. All right, starting with the shop rental. I used rates based on some commercial space around the Charlotte area from LoopNet, as we're home to a bunch of race teams around here, including Casey Kane Racing. I figured $40,000 for the year would get you a fairly reasonable sized space for your guys, for you guys to work in when they're not on the road. It's about $3,300 a month. Next, when they are on the road, obviously the truck and trailer are a big expense. You've got to pay for diesel fuel, truck maintenance, insurance, and other fees that it takes to, put a truck on the road. The common number you hear about mileage for an outlaw season is 40,000 miles, which on a truck getting 6 miles per gallon and the national average diesel price right now being around $5, that puts you at 35,000 for the year. But depending on various factors, though, I bumped that to 50,000 for the budget. That would cover any variance in those prices as they kind of go up and down, plus any extra trips needed throughout the season that maybe we don't think about. As for the truck itself, based on a few cost calculators online, I've got expenses and fees at about 50 cents a mile. That includes insurance, registration, and anything else that you're going to need, oil changes, things like that. So add in another 20 grand on the season in truck costs. So right now for a shop and a truck, we're at about $110,000 for the year. Next up is crew guy salaries. For 3 full-time guys, a tire guy, a car chief, and a crew chief, I've budgeted about $200,000. A tire guy is going to run you $600 to $800 a week. A car chief's probably $1,000 a week, and then a crew chief probably making just north of $100,000 for the year. I've heard some crew chiefs are getting as much as $150,000 or maybe even a little bit more at the top end, but we'll keep this a little bit more reasonable. The salaries now take us to $310,000 total. As for travel, I'm going to put these guys in hotel rooms as often as possible and decent rooms at that. In my other life, I actually handled travel for one of my NASCAR teams, so I'm actually super familiar with hotel rooms and rates for a season of racing kind of in real life. So I set that at $100,000 for the season. It could be done cheaper for sure, but I don't want my guys in sketchy roadside places, so that takes us to $410,000. When you talk about racing, obviously tires are going to be a problem. The past few years have seen prices rise substantially and shortages affect the racing. So tires are going to be a huge part of your budget as a sprint car team. Right rears from Hoosier are north of $300 each right now. And thanks to some feedback, I put the tire budget at $80,000 for the season. If we want to run 75 nights, that puts us just above $1,000 a night in tires. That brings our total cost up to $490,000. So of our original $620,000, we're left with $130 grand for engine and car stuff, plus any miscellaneous costs. And then I knocked that down to about $100,000, figuring 30 grand for engine rebuilds through the year. One source told me he gets his engines rebuilt every 20-ish nights, and even if we knock that down to say 15, every 15 nights, I think 30 grand should cover that for a year. So that leaves us about $1,300 a night in car and miscellaneous expenses. That's going to include methanol, parts, any general maintenance, and anything really that has to do with the car, and then anything else that you're going to add in through the course of a night. So 100 grand total, at that $1,300 a night. So just like that, $620,000 is completely used up. I think it's important to note that these are operating expenses and not startup costs. And if you want to start a team, you can figure all of this, but obviously you need to purchase that truck and trailer, call that $500,000. And then an assortment of cars, engines, and parts. And in that Speed Sport piece about Bristol, Philip Dietz said a car without an engine is about $30,000 complete. But with the rising cost of things, and if you want the best stuff, you're talking carbon fiber, titanium, you could actually be probably closer to $50,000 right now. And a good 410 engine might run you $70,000 or more right now. So all in to start a team at a high level, you're probably looking at $1.1 to $1.2 million. Let me make sure I got the right buttons here. So plus that $620,000 in operating costs. So if you're going to start a team right off the bat for the first season, you're looking at $1.8 million operating costs plus the startup costs. And on the flip side, let's take a look at some kind of income numbers since we're on this subject. 4 of the top 5 in the Outlaw standings cleared north of $500,000 between prize money, the point fund, and tow and bonus cash. If we take Sheldon Haudenschild and the Stenhouse Junior Marshall team as an example, they were 5th in points and had 9 wins that earned them about $504,525 according to the series. And about 370,000 of that was race winnings. Another 65,000 was the points payout. And that leaves 68,250 in tow and bonus money. If Sheldon got half of the winnings and points payout, that leaves the team with just shy $290,000. That means a shortfall of about $330,000 to make up for in sponsorships and support. When it comes to that extra support, teams are obviously going to sell sponsorships for straight cash, but they also get product deals. That's going to lower their costs for things like parts and chemicals through a year. There's also contingency money available throughout each event. That's probably near about $1,000 a night spread through the field. The Outlaws used to publish that information and the results. They haven't done that in a couple of years. But from a couple of years ago, the last time I was able to kind of find something, that dollar amount that night was about $750. I'm sure that's probably gone up a little bit. So figure about $1,000 a night kind of spread throughout the field in the various contingency money. As we continue to witness the showdown kind of happening over race payouts and who's getting what of the streaming revenue, these numbers should give you some context about what is being fought over. $620,000 is definitely on the higher end, and if you're willing to make some cuts, you could probably get that down to much less, say maybe $200,000, $175,000. For example, if you had a shop at your house, so you wouldn't have to pay for a shop, maybe you had less crew guys, one guy versus three. Maybe you slept in the truck more often, had fewer hotel rooms, and there are lots of places, I think, in here that you could cut that down. So chew on these numbers. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Curious what you guys have to say. I'd also like to do a similar breakdown for the late model side. So if you are aware of resources online or have information that you would like to share, you can feel free to reach out to me via email or DMs, and any information you share can certainly be kept anonymous if that's something you'd like to do. It is Wednesday, so that means a new podcast episode update. Loud Pedal has Lacey Doyle of RMS Racing. Passing Points has Jason Martin. QuickTime has Chase Randall. And there are new episodes of The Dirt Reporters from Dirt on Dirt and The Dirt Nerds. I also had some people reach out about Hoagie's Garage, so I added to the podcast page as well. He's got recent interviews with Donnie Schatz, Doug Johnson, and Guy Forbrook. To check out the full list of shows and episodes, head over to dirttracker.com/podcasts. The only things on the streaming schedule today are Dirt Vision Now and Flow Racing 24/7. To see the full daily streaming schedule with links to watch, visit dirttracker.com/watch tonight. That's it for the show today. Have a good Wednesday. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be right back here tomorrow for more Dirt Tracker Daily.